Hey everyone, welcome back to another ACR radio show. This week we've got a really, really good interview for you guys. Lisa Maynard-Atem decided that she would let us interview her this week. Now, I've known Lisa for a long, long time, probably over 10 years now. She started out as a stylist who wanted to launch a blog just to be on social media, just to have a presence online. She worked really hard on a blog and really hard on a styling. She embraced social media so much so that she got the chance to pitch to Harrods and become Harrods head of social marketing, which kind of she explained herself. It was she went down there on a wing and a prayer. She had the presentation set and all the things she wanted to say, and she was really lucky enough to get the job initially for a couple of months, and she made the most of it. And now Harrods is one of the most followed luxury brands in the world, with over 1 million followers by the time Lisa had departed, which was a massive, massive milestone in her career, which she talks about in a little bit more depth in the show. We talk about her launching the social word, why the social word came to be, and what the the background of that is, and why she feels that it's so important, and why she feels brands should embrace social media in a different kind of way. We talk about quality over quantity, and follower numbers are not necessarily the be all and end all. You can have huge amounts of followers and a very, very low engagement, and it's just a vanity number. It's something that we delve into quite a lot in the show, and it's a really, really interesting chat. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Okay, so today on the show we have got Lisa Maynard-Atem, who I've known for a long, long time, many, many years, through various different guises of roles and positions in companies and stuff like that. We've talked many times about social and all these kinds of things that we're going to talk about today. But I'm really, really grateful that she's given us the time and she's joined the show and all that kind of stuff. So what I will do now is I'll let Lisa introduce herself and give you guys a scope of where she's been and what she's been up to.
Okay, hi Brad, really nice
Hello.
to speak to you again. Thanks for having me on. Really exciting, really interesting. My name is Lisa Maynard-Atem. I currently work as a social media consultant for a number of brands. Previous to that, I worked for Harrods for just over 7 years, heading up their social media. I started with them in 2010 and I left in November 2017. And in my just over 7 years there, I headed up all of their social media, grew it from pretty much zero up to, I think when I left, it was upwards of 3 million followers. When I left, in terms of their Instagram, I think they were the most followed luxury department store in Europe and one of the most followed in the world. That's what I did for a period of 7 years. How I actually got into social media was previous to Harrods. I worked for myself, actually as a fashion stylist, and I needed a cost-effective way to promote myself. And I basically set up a Facebook group because Facebook pages didn't exist at the time, Instagram didn't exist at the time. So I set up a Facebook group and a Twitter account, and basically just started promoting myself through that. And as time went on, I started to get questions about how to use social media from a business perspective. So I was just kind of giving out this information free of charge. And then as time went on, I ended up doing more social media than I did styling, which for me worked out quite well because I didn't really enjoy the styling that much. So it kind of went from fashion styling into actual social media. And then the opportunity came up for me to pitch to Harrods, which I did. As I remember rightly, it was actually quite a short pitch. I think it was about 4 or 5 pages long. I think I remember talking to you about it, Brad.
Yeah.
I think you actually looked over the pitch for me.
I think I might have, yeah.
Sent it. Yeah. And I honestly didn't. I know this is going to sound terrible, and it's not meant to, but I just, at the time when I sent it, I wasn't 100% convinced that I would get the opportunity because I thought a big company like that, they're going to give it to an agency. So I kind of sent it off and kind of didn't think too much about it. I then went through a good few months of interviews and telephone interviews and physical interviews. And then at the end of that, I was offered a 3-month contract, which wasn't, obviously, it's not a massive, massive contract, but it was 3 months with the most famous luxury department store in the world. And I thought, you know what, I may never get this opportunity again. So I moved to London and started working for them. And then after a period, I think it was about 7 weeks, they created a position there and offered it to me. And as they say, the rest is history.
Wow. Do you know what I remember? I know we were talking off air before about all kinds of different things, which I'm sure we'll go into again in a minute. But just to jump on the Harrods pitch, I remember, I think it was the first or second time we'd met, and you said that you were getting ready to pitch to Harrods. And at the time, I thought it was the coolest and the craziest thing I'd ever heard. Because I know that when we first met, you're like, oh, I've just started the blog myself, and you have your style and blog and doing different bits and bobs and finding your feet and where you fit and all this kind of things. And then just from nowhere, it's like, oh yeah, and I've got this pitch for Harrods. I was like, what? Like it was mind blowing at the time to think that you're just going to walk in and go, social is one of the biggest things you could possibly do right now, and I'm the person to do it for you. So it's, like you mentioned before, you started at nothing and it's 3 million plus now, one of the highest followed luxury brands in the world. Like that's a claim to fame in social if ever there was one. It's pretty impressive.
I don't see it that way. People think I'm crazy, but I just didn't see it like that. I just thought, at the time I was like 32 years old and my career wasn't going in the direction I wanted it to go in. And I knew I had all of this ability, but I just wasn't getting the right opportunities. And for me, Harrods was my big chance. It was my big shot to actually do something and actually prove something to myself. And that's how I saw it. The fact that it was Harrods, don't get me wrong, I was very aware of that. But for me, it was very much, and I think I said this to you before, it's very much a personal journey. And it was very much something I wanted to prove to myself, that I need to make this work. I need to prove to myself that I can actually do this. And it was totally insane because, and I've said this, to other people before when I've done other interviews, I didn't know 100%. I think I said this to you as well at the time, how it was going to work out.
Yeah.
I could have been back home in Manchester after 3 months. I just didn't know. My attitude was, just do it. Just get out there, try it and see where it takes you. And, it was really hard. It was very, very hard because at the time when I started, as you know, a lot of companies were very skeptical of social media.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't necessarily see the value in it. A lot of them thought it was what, some geeks do in their bedroom.
Yeah.
They just didn't see it as valuable. And myself and many other people, yourself included, we really fought an uphill struggle to get companies buy-in. And if I'm being completely honest, even when I worked at Harrods, it took me quite some time to get people to buy into what I was trying to educate them on, that actually social media one day is going to be massive. It's going to be a fundamental part of your communications arsenal for your business. I didn't realize just how true that would become, especially with Instagram. I mean, when I joined, they didn't have Instagram. They only had Facebook and Twitter. And I'd been doing quite a bit of research on Instagram, and I did my research. I presented to my manager and other board members and said, look, I think this channel has the potential to be massive in the future, even bigger than like Facebook and Twitter. And, at the time, people laughed at me. They were like, okay, fair enough. So, I fought when I got the permission to set the account up. I didn't realize just how true that statement was. I had no clue, Brad. I'll be completely honest. I had no clue.
Was there any point in the process? I know it's still part of the journey and all that kind of stuff, but was there any part of the process when you were pitching to Harrods where you had that sort of thought to yourself where you're like, I've got this now. I've got them. The buying in, was it something that you said, or just a question you got asked where you think they're buying into this now, and there's actually a chance that I could get this opportunity?
Honestly, no.
Really?
I think that's partly why I ended up getting the opportunity, and I ended up doing as well as I did, because I never thought it was going to work out. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I think I'd got to the point where I was just so desperate to make something of myself and be successful. I just thought, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. And I'm just going to see what happens. That was my attitude. It was literally like, I'm just going to do this and see where it takes me. And I never had any expectations. I was like, you know what? The fact that I've gotten to pitch for the most famous luxury department store in the world is a massive, massive thing. And if it goes no further, that's a pretty cool thing. But I honestly didn't. I probably doubted myself a lot more than I should have. And then when they came back and said they were going to offer me a contract, I was like, oh my, that's when it was like, oh my God, I've actually got this. I've actually done. And I remember, I think I rang you or I text you and a few other people like, oh my God, they've offered it to me. What do I do now?
Yeah, take it, live the life. That's what you do now. That's what you work for.
And that's the thing. It was like, when I actually got it, it was like, oh my God, this is actually going to happen. I'm actually going to move to London. I'm actually going to do this job. And then I remember my very first day, it was the 1st of September 2010. I remember getting there and standing in front of the building and just thinking, shit.
Yeah, what do I do now?
I've got to do this now. Like, oh my God. And like loads of people, including you, messaged me saying good luck. And I was like, oh, great. I'm so excited. I was excited, but I was absolutely bricking it as well.
Yeah.
I was like, if I get this wrong, I'm going to have to go home, tail between my legs. It's going to be so embarrassing.
Do you know what, though? Even if it hadn't gone right, which it did, which everyone was made up for, but even if it hadn't, at least you could never say, I didn't do it. Or exactly. Like you said, I didn't take the opportunity or I didn't take the chance and stuff like that. And for that reason, no one can crap on it. Or no one can say it was a bad thing because you tried something completely different, pitching an idea that was ahead of itself at the time. Like you said before, how many companies still now don't have Instagram, and it's 10 years old, like however many years old. I was talking to an email consultant this morning saying, oh, I still speak to clients now don't have an email program. And you wonder how companies in, like, I know we were chatting before, like in this digital space and this digital age where everything is about connections and being relative and being relatable to a brand and making it personal to you and all this kind of stuff, how they cannot use these channels.
I know,
it's crazy.
It's just mad, isn't it? But yeah, I honestly, crazy. I think, and I genuinely think, and people laugh at me when I say this, but I genuinely think even now that part of the reason that I was successful and I was able to make it work was because I had that kind of attitude. I was at the point where I just felt, you know what, I've got nothing to lose. So even if I end up going home, you know, I started from a point of zero anyway. So I just literally just thought, you know what, I'm just going to go for this. I'm not going to have any expectations of it. I'm not going to like, you know, and you know yourself, when I first started, I was very discreet. I didn't tell many people what I was doing.
Yeah.
I didn't talk about Harrods on my own personal social media because I figured, you know what, if I make a tit of myself, you know, everyone's going to know. So let me just be very discreet about it. And plus as well, I didn't know where it was going to go. So I thought, let me just keep it under wraps for now. You know, and all of my friends and people I know, yourself included, nobody made a big deal about it on social media. Any conversations we had about it was always offline because that's not, Harrods is a particular type of brand. But more so than anything, I didn't want to be like, oh, you know, I'm at Harrods now. This is so cool. This is amazing. Because if it went tits up, I'm going to end up with egg on my face.
Yeah,
so I thought, let me just kind of work hard in silence and hopefully my success will be my noise. And fortunately, it worked out that way. But I still can't believe it did. I know this, again, that sounds insane, but I still can't believe. It's like the other day, I was somewhere and they were talking about Harrods social media. And I was like, oh my God, I did that.
Yeah, you were totally involved.
You're like, oh, that was me. Once upon a time.
When you first started, obviously it was you mentioned before, it was a battle to get people involved and to get people to buy in and to understand the relevance of all of these channels. Like the ad Facebook and Twitter, which is fine. I think they're like a staple now anyway. You should just have them as a thing. When Instagram first launched, you were like, no, this is going to be huge. At what point did the business really start getting involved and start commenting on content, or were they completely involved from the outset because they wanted to be in control?
Well, I had buy-in from the outset. You know, it wasn't a case of just me on my own fighting a little battle. I had buy-in from the outset, but it wasn't from the wider business. And I think one of the really key things for me to mention here is that, you know, what was vital in my success in that organization was building relationships. As in any role to be successful, you have to have relationships. But when you're introducing something new and you need to get buy-in, you really need to build relationships. So I spent a long time presenting to people, going and having meetings with people. I think I did a big presentation